Oh, how I love Jesus. Oh, how I love Jesus. Hey, come on in, y'all. Oh, how I love Jesus. Because he first loved me. Yeah. Hey, hello everybody. Sirwalterj show. I'm here. It is the evening edition. Baby. How y'all with us? Come on in the water. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I got another hot show today. Another hot one here. We're talking about race to the ism. Racism. This one right here has bothered so many people and since the dawn of time. Since the eons of the dawn of times, this subject of racism is a big one. It's bigly. It's going to be huge, okay? I put up on my wall here, I put up on my wall, riddle me this. Riddle me this. Marlon, riddle me this. What's the riddle? Here's the riddle. Can African Americans be racist? Go ahead, put the comment in the section in the comment below. If you're on YouTube, go ahead, go ding, hit the hello, I like you show button and subscribe. So in the comments, if you could answer the question, can African Americans be racist? All right, now somebody asked me some of my white friends came on in and said, well, if it's difficult for me to read some of the comments here because some of it is funny and some of it is really sad from both black and white. Okay, so the question is, Verenia, good to see you. The question is, can African Americans be black? All right, don't go over to where Jesus lived. Okay, don't go over to these foreign lands. All right, don't go to Africa. All right, the question is simply, can African Americans be racists? All right, that's a very important question. Here's the problem that I'm finding out about African Americans. All right, black folks who live here in America is this. Some of you, unfortunately, you're not very educated. Now, when I say not very educated, I really mean you're not very informed. You don't want to be informed. Yeah, Verenia, no. The answer is no. No. Now. Actually, let me change the answer, okay? Let me change the answer, Verenia. Let me change the answer. Good to see you, Beatrice. Here's my answer. Erica says no, they can't be. Here is my answer. Number one, can African Americans be racists? Okay? Yes. Can African Americans be racist right now, though? No. Did anybody understood my answer? Can African Americans be racist? Oh, sure they can. But can they be racist right now? No, they can't. They can't. Did anybody understand my answer? I don't believe we can be racist. I believe we can be prejudiced because of what all right? Come on. And what about colorism among black people? I'm going to get to that in just a minute. Because that's very important. So today I want to educate you African Americans on what racism really is. I'm going to also educate white folks on what racism really is. We ain't got nothing. Now, there it is, Erica. Erica is answering it for me. Here's the answer right here. It's simple. It's simple arithmetic. Let me ask y'all this important question. Have you ever heard of white privilege? You ever heard of white privilege? You have? Okay. Then let me ask you this question. Have you ever heard of black privilege? Pitts and Travail? Good to see you. Have any of you ever heard of black privilege out of the mouth of blacks, whites, Hispanics, okay, Asians? Have you ever heard of, no, that's black privilege? You ever heard of it? Travail says, yeah, she heard it. I wonder who did she hear it from? Have any of y'all ever heard of a black privilege? I bet you never heard of it. Never heard of it, have you? Okay. So let's see if we can go down this road of understanding what's going on with racism and why is it so hard for y'all to understand that you cannot be a racist today. You can't. Pitt says no. There is no such thing as black privilege, and that says I never heard it. Travell says she heard it. I would like to know where she hang out. I want to know what your community look like. Okay? So let's define these words. Let's begin by defining racism. Veronica, I'm going there right now. I'm getting ready to go there right now. I'm going to define these words, all right? I got about 6 words I want to define, and then so that you can understand what these words mean. You see, the problem with African Americans is you don't understand the derivative, okay? You don't understand how words or phrases were, their origins of words, okay? Where did it come from? Donald Trump would say oranges. The oranges of the word, okay? You don't know the etymology of words, all right? So it's easy for you to say that I can be racist when you don't know. And then what did y'all do? Y'all went on Google, found dictionary.com, and put the definition of what dictionary.com says, not realizing that many words and phrases and terms are updated. We live in the United States of America. A lot of those terms, terms and meanings and definitions are updated to mean something now to smooth over things. All right? You understand what I'm saying? Good to see you, Marcia. So we're in a political correct world right now where you can't define the thing by what it used to mean. It don't mean that anymore. You understand? So y'all created things to mean something that what it didn't mean in the beginning. And that's what's happening with immorality in America, is you immoral. And so what you're doing is you're calling what was once righteous is now evil. And what you're calling was once evil, it is now righteous. You understand? So people think now that racism, or some people never knew what racism really meant. It just was a word that you heard and that was applied to white folks, and the white folks had a comeback and they said, no, this is reverse racism. Really? How is that possible that two of us are in the same territory and we got the same, I'm a different color, you're a different color, and I can use reverse racism on you? That doesn't make economic sense, okay? Or systematic sense. I've never heard it. Yeah, if we're privileged in the United States, no one ever told me. That's it right there. He who has the power and money and status has the ability to be racist. Yes. Yes. Come on, Bill. I'm glad you're here, man. I tagged you. I tagged you. All right? So it's difficult for an African American. Notice I keep saying African American. If I had said black, then you could have had a stand. You could have had some kind of defense, because then black could mean someone from other territories, other nations, all right? But I said African Americans, that puts you right here in America, 50 states, whether it's the lower 48 or those other couple, okay? That means, can you, right now, at this present time, 2020, be a racist? And right now, at the present climate, you cannot be a racist. You can't. Why? Only by definition. So, but your definition is by what the little Google word that you found that it had 1 or 2 paragraphs, and you looked at that definition and said, see, it says when you hate another race, another people, another color, or what have you, then you're a racist. No, that's just more of the sprinkling of the definition. That's all it is. It's just more of the sprinkling. It's like me making a cake and I don't have at least the sugar and I don't have the flour. I don't have the baking soda. I mean all this stuff. I can make anything bake. I can make it rise and call it a cake till I bite into it and like, wait a minute, that's missing something. That ain't no cake. That's just a bunch of mess you put into a pot. Okay, so the fruit of the Spirit is the same way. If you miss one ingredient, it is not the fruit of the Spirit, because this Bible says fruit, not S, fruits. So if you're missing love or missing joy or missing peace or missing long-suffering, one of them missing, you don't have the fruit. Okay, you either have to have them all or none at all. It's like the 10 Commandments. If you break one, you broke them all. You understand? So when it comes to this thing, you're not. You can't be. So here are my definitions here for certain words. It's called prejudice, but it's called racial prejudice. Racial prejudice. That's important. There's prejudice against a whole lot of things, but today we're talking about racial prejudice. I'll talk about what that is in a minute. Number 2, a word that we started hearing popped up a lot during the Donald Trump administration, and that word is xenophobia. It starts with an X, not a Z. All right? Yes, Webster can be misleading because it equates racist with prejudice. That's it. And many of the writers some of our commentaries, some of our dictionaries and encyclopedias are from men who had a different point of view, a different taste, a different mentality. They also were living in a world where it was political correctness at the time, and they reversed the true meaning of the word, the etymology of the word, and made it mean for what it means today. And we also see that a lot in the King James Bible, where certain words were put in there that was not in more of the original text. All right, in scrolls, the Bibles prior to 1611, King James writers began to change the word, change the meaning because of what it meant for them in 1611. But what did you have in 1610? All right, understand? Noble Hadley says I totally disagree, but I'm listening. You can disagree until the cows come home, but we can't be making up stuff unless we do the study. You can disagree with your professor, you can disagree with your doctor, you can disagree with your lawyer, but until you do the in-depth study, you can disagree with your Bible teacher, you can disagree with even God, you can disagree with whoever you want to, but until you do the in-depth study, you can't just do a Google search and find dictionary.com and give me 2 paragraphs of what it means. You cannot, without doing in-depth study and find out what was the derivative, what was the origin of it, okay? You gotta do that study. You can't just go in and tell your doctor, no, you wrong. I know what's in my body. No, you don't. You never seen what's inside your body. All right? So it's you're wasting your time. No, Pamela, you didn't miss this. I just came on. All right? So you wasting your time saying I disagree, but you didn't test the water. You can't say I don't like that food. Have you ever tasted it? No, I never had it. Then how could you disagree? You're only going by your own. Even the scripture says, lean not on your own understanding. Try it, all right? And test it and prove yourself. Understand? The Bible says study to show yourself. Prove. The study that we've been talking about is not really what it is. I mean, study is an action word, okay? I'm a white musician trying to make a living on the South Side. I experienced racism from black men on a regular... No, you don't, Mark. You've never experienced racism from black men. You experienced bigotry and prejudice, but you have never, ever experienced racism from black men. You've never done it. I'm constantly condescended, underestimated, and overlooked. No, because of my race. No, that's bigotry. I have hit musicians always black in the neighborhood and industry. No, none of that is racism. You think it's racism because of what you've been hearing all your life about what racism is, because somebody's been called a racist, so it's easy to try to flip that on someone and then you call it reverse. But no, by definition, you cannot be I'm missing a whole lot of stuff here. Yeah, Marlon said no, he hasn't. You haven't been, you can't be. All right, so here, xenophobia. What is xenophobia? Xenophobia, intense or irrational dislike. That's xenophobia. Or fear. That's what I see amongst a lot of white evangelicals. Why they bring up this immigration thing? Because a lot of it is fear. They are afraid of losing control, losing power, losing persuasion, they're losing a grip on what they had and what they built. They're afraid of losing it because they have always been the majority, and to lose this power from the minority can be a problem. It causes fear to happen, and xenophobia sets in. This is racism at its best. Fear is what it is. This assumption that white people are in the positive power is every interaction between people of different races is ridiculous. And Mark Dreyer, I know there's poor white folks, but guess what? If I and you walk in any room where there is a leg up, trust me, the majority will pick you over me. You still have white privilege. It's easy to say that I've been down and downtrodden and beat up and abused by black folk, and they told me I couldn't do blah, blah, blah. But if we walk into the mainstream, you and me together, you will still always have the leg up. Always, Mark. Always. Why? Because of your skin color. Slavery in America was the only place where slavery was due to a man's skin color. Nowhere else was the color of someone's skin caused them to stay in bondage or racism or prejudice or whatever. It was only in America. Slavery continued. Other nations was getting rid of slavery, but it continued in America only because of the color of that man's skin, right? So white privilege is a big thing. It's a real thing here in America. And if the both of you and I walk down the street, trust me, you will get better treatment than me. Even in the black neighborhoods, they will treat you different. They will go the extra mile. They will call you more Mr., Sir, what have you, and they'll look at me and say, what's up? What up, my nigga? Yeah, you know what? But they'll treat you better. Trust me on that. I work with y'all. What kills me is that they are so afraid that they are going to receive the harvest of what they sown. That's it. What they don't know is the blacks are merciful because, yes, that's it. Black people don't go into white neighborhoods and kill them. We don't do that. Notice that. Notice there's no such thing as a black on white crime. Have you noticed that? They are afraid of something that doesn't even exist. We don't go in their neighborhoods and kill them. We just don't do it. So they call it black on black. They call it black on black crime, even though there's more white people killing white people than blacks are killing blacks. Why? Because you're still the majority. There are more white people in America than there are blacks. So, of course, you're going to have more white people killing each other than blacks. But we don't call it white on white crime. Mark tells us, he said, I'm living in a black neighborhood and you have no idea what you're talking about. Mark, I don't have to live in your neighborhood to understand that you still, by the color of your skin, you still will be treated better than me. If we walked hand in hand, in majority of wherever we're going, you will still have the upper hand. You will always have more privilege than me. Always in America. You cannot base your neighborhood off of the whole system. The system is set up for you to have the advantage over me. Mark, I'm surprised at you. I'm surprised at you saying that. You married a black girl. Yeah. I'm trying to tell you, I don't know. See, I think you're misunderstanding me. He says, just as I can never know what it's like, y'all typing fast, to be black, you will never know what it's like to be white. No, I never said I know what it's like to be white. You're misunderstanding me. I didn't say I know what it's like. I said when the two of us walk hand in hand in the mainstream, they will treat you better than me. You will always have the upper hand than me. Why? Because of the color of your skin. That ain't got nothing to do with me knowing how it feels to be white. I don't know how it feels to be white. Like you don't, yeah, but you don't know how it feels to be called, treated badly by racists. You don't know. You will never know how that feels. Never. All right, true. If the whole community is against a white person, someone is going to come to their rescue and tell the other black people to leave the white person alone. Yep, and help them out in the neighborhood safely. Yes. However, if I go to a white neighborhood where I'm not welcome, it is possible that I may never be found. That's the whole truth. He ain't understanding this, Marlon. According to online etymology, it states, Pitt says, in the U.S., race hatred, race prejudice had been used, and especially in the 19th century politics context, Negrophobia, Anglo-Saxonism as belief in the superior of the English race had been used to disparage. I'm not understanding any of that. I'm not understanding that. Yeah. All that stuff. No, man, you really, Mark, come on, man. Let me finish this. So xenophobia, okay, is what we've been hearing from Donald Trump. All right, that's like Cubans hating Mexicans and those from Japanese hating Chinese and on and on. All right, so that's xenophobia. Number 3, chauvinism. Chauvinism. It's exaggerated belief in the supremacy of one's nation. Chauvinism. Yeah, he doesn't understand, Marlon. He doesn't. Mark says, how is it not racism if I'm denied gigs because of my skin color? Because you don't understand what racism is. That's not how you define racism. You coming up with a definition on your own. You're creating this definition on your own. That's not racism. Black people cannot commit racism towards you. That is discrimination or bigotry. That is racial discrimination, not racism. It's prejudiceness. Understand? Okay, so chauvinistic is exaggerated belief in the supremacy of one's nation, class, or his caste, or group. It usually involves xenophobia. Yeah, please define racism again. Shut up. Okay, I'm trying to get him to understand, but he's not going to give it. He's settled on this, and most of my whites on my page is settled on they believe in the African Americans. That's why I said, how do you define racism? Depending on who you ask. I never met a white person who thinks that African Americans cannot be racist. They believe that all African Americans can be. Why? Because they're white. That's the only reason. Because they're white. Bigotry is another word. Bigotry. Joe was here. Joe said he's just listening. Bigotry. What is bigotry? Now we're talking, Mark. Right here. Bigotry is a state of mind where a person strongly, obstinately, irrationally, unfairly, or intolerantly dislike other people or opinions that differ from one's own opinion. Some examples include personal beliefs, race, understand, religion, national origin, gender, disability, seal or orientation, SEAL, socioeconomic status, or other group characteristics. All those. All right, that's bigotry. So notice the word race in there. But I can't be a racist by definition. But I can be a bigot because you got white skin. It don't make sense to you, don't it? No. Don't make sense. Archie Bunker was a bigot and a racist. And he was prejudiced. Okay, it's funny, really not. Marlon says that white people hold to the answer that it is their mind and never accept the truth that challenges what they have chosen to believe. You're trying so hard to help that guy, but I doubt he will get it. Yeah, no, he's not going to get it. But that's, this is my friend. I love Mark Dreyer. He's a cool brother, and he loves God. Mark is saved. He loves God. Plays a mean sax. He's my dear brother, but I don't always agree with my dear brothers. I just don't. It sounds like you are defining systematic oppression, not racism. I can't find any online definition to support your definition. How can you not find it when you typing right here? Of course you're not going to find it while you typing here. Do some in-depth study once I'm done. All right? Yeah, when I'm done. The foundation of racism is based on the group that believes they're superior among everyone else in every area. Yes. Where are you finding this definition? Mark is asking me, where am I finding this? Yeah, Tennille, George Jefferson was prejudiced. Yes. Where am I finding this definition? I did this show years ago on bigotry, all right, and racism in America. So these are my findings from doing in-depth study from a lot of my online searching and talking to police officers and psychologists. All right. So I don't just do a Google search and the first thing that pop up is some dictionary.com and then I got my answer. No. I did some in-depth research by polling people, all right? And I came up with this conclusion. Here are my definitions. Now, Mark, he puts up Merriam-Webster. You can't just put up Merriam and Webster up there and think that that's the go-all, the be-all, the do-all. You just can't do it. You can't do it because, again, some of these guys are European. They are what's the word that they used on the Black Panther? What they call white folks? Colonizers. Some of these men were colonizers. Yeah. All right. You can't just take one little piece and think that's it. See, here it is. How many times do they update the dictionary? Every year they're updating the dictionary. Every year. And putting the terms in there and the words, and they're updating words and updating meanings of words. Constantly. All right? Constantly. Yeah, Mark says polling people is your source of definition. Notice how many sources that I said I had. Y'all see what Mark is doing? Do y'all see what Mark is doing? Because if I was in a court of law and the lawyer says, here are my sources, and he was your lawyer, Mark, you would be like, listen to my lawyer. He polled some people. He is a professional witness. But because I'm saying this and you are against whatever I'm saying, no matter what I say, you will disagree with it because a man convinced against his will is of the same will still. When I get through with this show, you will still not be changed. No matter how many sources I bring up, you won't be changed, Mark. And that's okay, brother. We still kung boom, or whatever word is. I thought racism was the belief in the superiority of a race. It's built into the word. Mark, was that a question or a statement? Okay, so xenophobia, I told you what that is. Chauvinism, I told you what that is. Bigotry, I told you what that is. Casteism is another one. It's a class structure that is determined by your birth. Loosely, it means that in some societies, if your parents are poor, you're going to be poor as well. That's casteism. I see some of that in America, but it's really, a lot of it starts that's in Hinduism, okay? Then comes discrimination. Discrimination is action that denies social participation. It denies social participation or human rights to categories of people based on prejudice. This includes treatment of an individual or a group based on their actual or perceived membership in a certain group or social category in a way that is worse than the way people are usually treated. That's what discrimination is much worse. Like the housing discrimination. Understand? All right, so that's what that is. The Bible in Matthew 24:7 talks about racism, bigotry, xenophobia as well. Matthew, since this is a Christian show, those of you who are atheists, you can go somewhere, and we'll be back in a minute. Matthew 24:7, I believe it is. This is Jesus. He says, and he says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Then he says, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in divers places. Jesus pretty much is telling y'all what's happening right now. Racism, discrimination, prejudiceness, all right? Kingdom upon kingdom, nation upon nation. One is ethnos against ethnos. That's a people against another type of people. That is racial fighting against each other, bigotry and xenophobia. So that's ethnos against ethnos. And then he said basilia against basilia. Basilia against basilia, that means religions against religions. You understand? So kingdom against kingdom And so you wouldn't know that by reading King James. You wouldn't know that. So what do? You get you a good Strong's Concordance, look in a good book, a study Bible that have numbers next to it, and find out what kingdom means in the derivative or the Greek word means, and what nation means, and you'll get ethnos and you'll get basilia. Basilia or basilica is a church. You understand? So these Jews are fighting, the Catholics are fighting the Episcopals, are fighting the Presbyterians, the Lutherans are fighting. All right, the Catholics and the Protestants are fighting. That's what's happening. All right, Islam is fighting, the Muslims are fighting, what have you. Okay, that's what's going on. One is the people and the other one is the religion, on and on. And that's what Jesus was saying, and that's what's happening right now. You wouldn't know that, though, again, unless you did some in-depth study of what I'm doing right here. So there are 5 types of racism. 5 types of racism that you probably need to know. All right, there's many types, but there's 5 that you need to know. Don't Masons and Eastern Star members use yep, yep, there it is. That's my whole point here. I'm sorry, Antoine, I didn't tag you. My bad. We're thinking by what we thought we know, but you ain't done the study. That's why we have schools. That's why we have great teachers. They've gone to school for 4 and 7 and 8 and 12 years, okay, to teach you this stuff. And now we have social media, not social media, we have Google and Bing and all this stuff, all right? And we got apps that will help us understand the origins of stuff. We've got Amazon Prime, where you can go and look at some of the documentaries, and go on Netflix documentaries, okay? You got too much, Roku and the Fire Stick. You got too much out there for you to sit there and be ignorant living in America and say you don't know. And that's why racism is so huge here in America, because they know you don't know, and they will always be on top systematically. They are racist. You cannot be. Oh, come on. Demetri Pitts put in a source for etymology, ETYM online, ETYMonline.com. Come on, Pitts. There it is. So one word is individual racism. That's popular. We know what that is. I really don't have to read it. But it's also called personal racism. Is the type of racism that most people think of when we think of racism individually. Okay? That goes on and on. Then there's what's called interpersonal racism. Interpersonal racism is racism between individuals. In other words, it is when a white person actively or passively employs their personal racism against a person of color. Right? If she gives a wonderful example here. A few decades ago, interpersonal racism was much more overt. Before the civil rights movement, whites often used racial slurs and engaged in physical violence against people of color. Today, such actions, known as overt racism, are less tolerated as acceptable in society, but it is still prevalent. So while name-calling and physical threats are frowned upon today, interpersonal racism can still take a variety of forms. So now racism is more covert. Instead of overt, it's now covert. Y'all understand the difference between the two words? So the idea remains the same, but today they are expressed differently. A person who would not dare use a racial slur might still engage in any number of acts that demonstrate a preference for whiteness and white people. The Southern strategy in 1970 was used in the Richard Nixon administration, and they were talking about black folks, okay? Was it overt or covert? It's like eugenics, all right? They didn't use that word. It was too offensive to kill babies, or the sterilization and all this stuff. But so they changed it to something more palatable, easy on the ear, so they call it Planned Parenthood. When I first saw Planned Parenthood, I thought, oh, that's nice. That's a place where women go to to talk about the pregnancy and how we can make sure that the baby is healthy and all these things. But no, Planned Parenthood was just a front to use. It's like the war on drugs. The war on drugs was covert. It was really against you. So I got this much crack as a black man, and the white guy got this much cocaine. Who going to jail? Me. Yes, true again. It's not always what people say. It is what they do and don't do. That's it. Marlon, Pitt says it's mostly prevalent or covert in the workplace. Come on. See, are y'all getting it? My white friends ain't coming up here listening to none of this. Well, Joe Hill is here. Joe is I love me some Joe. We don't always agree, but Joe is a good man. Joe is a good man. I'm going to see Joe in heaven. Okay? Here's the next one. Institutional racism. Institutional racism. And Amber says overt is done outwardly. Covert is usually done behind the scenes or systematically. There it is. Institutional racism in America, most conservations about racist conversations. My eyes are going dim. About racism focus on the actions of individuals. All right. So that's what y'all looking at, individualism. He's a racist, he's a racist. But sadly, this limited thinking prevents discussion of one of the most important types of racism, institutional racism. When racism occurs in organizations, it can be much harder to combat. Institutions often have more history, more money, more power and prestige than individuals. So while we certainly want individuals to be free of bias, if institutions are biased, a few unbiased individuals will not be enough to overcome that large bias because it's an institution. And so they have a bigger persuade over the institution. I read that Planned Parenthood was started by the Klan member, Mark says. All right, I did that whole thing about eugenics on YouTube. Y'all go ahead and type that in. You can watch that later. All right. So institutional racism refers to an institution making choices that intentionally single out or harm people of color. Intentional. Jim Crow segregation laws are good examples of institutional racism. While explicit institutional racism is rare today, it still exists. Y'all know what explicit means, right? Explicit institutional racism. It's more rare, but it still exists in covert operations. It's the red herring. It's the dog whistle. Okay, it's the lipstick on the pig. It's saying some things. They're talking about black people because when a whole bunch of black people, if somebody win the Super Bowl or the NBA tournament or what have you, and a bunch of black people are in the streets turning over cars, those are thugs. But when a whole bunch of white folks are turning over cars because of the hockey team won, those are fans who are partying. You understand what I'm saying? What is that? What would be that? What would be that? But that's all, folks. Pitt says correct. That's why it's difficult for African Americans to win a discrimination case. Notice this. Watch this. Racism, is it a word and what does it mean? Notice in the civil rights era of after the civil rights bill was passed in 1964, if a white man abused a black man, whether they drug him behind a truck, whether they hung him in a tree, strange fruit, whether they burned them at the stake, whatever it is, these white men were not charged with a racial crime. I'm getting ready to educate y'all right quick. Why? Because racial is not a crime. Racialism is not a crime. To be a racist is not a crime. Do y'all understand? Y'all not understanding any of this? All right? They could not charge this person with a racial crime. They had to charge these people with civil rights laws. They charged him with denying a person his civil rights. There was no racial law. Okay, now they call it a hate what? Notice they still can't call it a racial crime. It's called a hate crime. It's not called a racial crime because racialism, racist, okay, these are terms that are difficult to define depending on where you are because it's a social construct. Are y'all with me here? Are y'all with me here? Can y'all understand any of the words that came out of my mouth? It is difficult in many arenas to define. If you go to Wikipedia and type in race, you'll start seeing different terminologies, and they'll say, well, it means this, but yet it means this. It kind of means this, but it means this. Why? Because there's only one race. Yes, thank you, Demetrius Pitts. It's called a hate crime. There's only one race. Only one. And it's called human. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's difficult to define it. So lawyers have sometimes a difficult, tough time in the court of law to try to fight cases dealing with race. Explicit says you cannot sit here. That's what explicit says. This is for white people only. This is very rare. It's usually done covertly or hidden. Thank you, Amber. Okay. So now comes cultural racism. Y'all, if you're learning anything, hit the like button or hit the hearts. I need to know that y'all still here because I feel like I'm here alone. Cultural racism. Cultural racism has several meanings, okay? In the larger sense, it is the authority. I see the likes. Hallelujah. I'm not here by myself. It is the authority to create and define the culture in a society. Cultural racism. In America, the standards are the standards of art, beauty, and other forms of culture have historically been decided by straight, white, Christian men. Understand? That's the culture. As a result, the dominant American culture often reflects the needs of that group while excluding or devaluing the contributions of people of color. So therefore, in America, the holidays we celebrate, the statues in our parks, the stories in our history books, and other markers of culture generally honor white men to the exclusion of other groups. This is cultural racism. Thank you, Anna. She said I'm doing good. All right. So that's why many of you African Americans are not informed on your own people, on your own group. So whites who are racist they are fear of losing stuff. Black Wall Street and other towns that were burned down by white people, they burned them down due to fear. Due to fear. They were always fearful that blacks were coming up. Notice this. Whenever whites attacked blacks from back in the day, even today, they attack them because blacks are coming up, and the fear of them excelling causes whites to attack, whether through words or through deeds or laws or through what they call redrawing districts when it comes to voting, causing them changing these voting laws to restrict African Americans from voting and Hispanics, gerrymandering, okay, because they know that if these blacks and these Hispanics build up enough power to elect someone who represent them, that is a direct attack towards those who are racist, their power, their systematic persuasion and all that stuff. Okay, you understand? So that's cultural racism. This last one is called structural racism. Structural racism. Marxists absolutely, and they don't give equal representation of black history in college curriculum. Yep, which is perpetuating this. That's it. That's it, brother. That's it. It looks like we agreeing, Mark. We agreeing. Okay. Pitt says cultural racism is also evidence in the workplace. All right. Try not going to lunch with your Caucasian counterparts. You'll end up being labeled as rebellious and this act could affect your progress within the company. Come on, see, Pitts knows this stuff. She works in all that stuff with well, she should be the Secretary of Labor, Pitts, because she know that stuff. All right, and in the penal system, those who are inmates, this system works the same way. Blacks, what's the word? What's the word? Well, they come together in one little circle. What's the word? And the whites over here, Hispanics are over here. How do I know? I was in jail. It might have only been 2 weeks, but I was in there, and blacks hung out, the Hispanics hung out, and the whites hung out. You didn't mix. Not at the dinner table, the breakfast table, the lunch table, out there playing ball. You didn't mix. Sometimes even at the prayer table, when they were having Bible study, the black folk had, it was silly. The black folks had Bible study, and the white folks had, it was the silliest thing. Thank you. Yeah, camaraderie. Yeah, camaraderie. Yeah, that. Okay, structural racism. Structural racism, also known as systematic racism. Here we are. Systematic racism. Is perhaps the most harmful and least discussed form of racism. Structural racism codifies individuals, cultural, and other types of racism in perpetual systems. Like institutional racism, structural racism focuses on organizations rather than the people. But while institutional racism may purposefully try to single out a particular group, structural racism is neutral on its face. This neutrality makes structural racism difficult to measure and even more difficult to end. And it makes it very difficult to fight in the courts. That comes from me. All right. So, for example, they give an example. An organization may establish an early career pipeline program to recruit new, diverse professionals. I worked in a construction company, and we had what was called the utilization report that I had to print out. I was an accountant, and I had to, when I did payroll, I also had to print out a utilization report to give to the CEO to show how many diverse people, how many men worked on the job, how many Asians were working, how many blacks were working, and how many Hispanics were working. Okay, so it was that thing there, diverse. So despite the commitment to diversity, the program's requirements may limit the number of diverse applicants. So the program may require a college degree and a letter of recommendation from faculty members. While a college education may seem like a standard qualification, requiring a college degree for non-specialized positions inadvertently disadvantages people of color. You got to have a college degree. To mop this floor? Yes. Institutional practices such as school segregation prevented people of color from attending colleges for years. So current structural practices such as school financing laws continue to limit the education options available to people of color. The answer is housing. It includes redlining and gentrification. That's exactly it. When they tore down Cabrini Green here in Chicago, most of you may have heard of Cabrini Green. It was like the worst. It was the most dangerous project in Chicago since they put that project up in the 1950s. Okay? So whites have always wanted that piece of land because it is right up the street from downtown. It's prime property, but a whole bunch of black folks live in Cabrini Green. It was the projects. When they finally decided to tear it down, they told the families in Cabrini Green, listen, here's what we're going to do. We're getting ready to tear down Cabrini Green, but we're going to put up, instead of a high rise, we're going to put up low rise, low income, and then you all can come back.
and live here. Don't worry. They were fighting. They were having town meetings. They said, no, don't worry. No. We're not kicking you out. We just want to tear this down and clean it up and put up low rise, and then you all come on back. Y'all coming back now, you hear? Well, y'all know what happened, right? Y'all know what happened. This was structural racism, okay? What happened was, then they kicked them out and moved them to the suburbs, sprinkled them in certain neighborhoods where the crime went up, okay? And then they put up the low rise, and those apartments that was going for $30 a month, because, you know, public aid, what have you, then those apartments was going for $2,000 a month. Yeah, y'all can come back, okay? Prove to me that you can afford this $2,000 a month. I said y'all can come back, but these are now $2,000 a month. Okay, nobody could come back. Nobody. Structural racism speaks to the traditions and requirements of an organization. The government claims that this practice is monitored. But organizations have the option of submitting their reports. That's it, Pitts. Come on, Pitts. I'm glad you're here, girl. All right. So let me read this one more thing. So if you go on Google and type in, "Can black be racist?" Can blacks be racist? Just Google that. All right. This is a test of the emergency broadcast system. I'm afraid to turn the screen around because y'all remember what happened yesterday. I tried to turn the screen around and my phone died. All right. Can blacks be racist? If you type that in Google, you'll see a whole bunch of websites that says, no, they cannot. But all of you, especially my white friends, are saying, yeah, you can, yeah, you can, yeah, you can, yeah, you can, yeah, you can. And then you went to Google and found dictionary.com to define the word. But you don't go in. It's like coming to Chicago and not going into the neighborhoods to try to figure out. I was Ubering around town 2 years ago. I was Ubering and picking up white folks from all over the country and all over the world. They were coming from North America, South America. They were coming from Africa. They was coming from European countries, and they would be in my back seat, and I'd be driving them around. I'm not gonna say town yet. I was driving them around, and they would say, Chicago is a dangerous city out here, boy. Am I gonna get shot? And I would say, why would you come from South America, from London, England, from France, to come to a town where you think you're gonna get shot? And then I would drive them up and down downtown. I always picked them up from downtown, just downtown. And they said, we thought this was a dangerous city. But man, I tell you, if this is a beautiful city, we haven't had no problems. I said, because you downtown, Mr. White Man, let me take you in Inglewood. Let me take you in Pullman. Let me take you to Roseland. Let me take you to Ashburn. Okay? Let me take you on the greater west side. Let me take you to these lists. All right, I got a whole bunch of places. Let me take you. No, thank you. We're fine. I said, well, you don't know the city until I take you into where the city is. Redlining would seem to have the greatest economic impact because home equity is most people's greatest source of wealth to leave to their descendants. You said it would seem to have the greatest economic impact? Redlining? Mark? Are you sure you typed that right? So, can blacks be racist? I see a website that says nope. Nope. HuffPost said nope. The Crimson said nope. It's a whole bunch of them. Nope. Now, let's go to Wikipedia. Shall we? Okay, Wikipedia. We can go ahead because everybody go to Wikipedia. See, and here's the thing. When people want to research on their own on stuff that they're studying, whether it's Bible study or whether it's something social, whether it's a word that they want to define, what have you, they'll go to Wikipedia and agree with everything Wikipedia got to say. They'll agree with it. Until right now. Until right now. I know the spirit of my people. Yeah, until right now. Because what Wikipedia is going to say is where you begin to lose people. Again, it is called what do we always call that? A dissonance. Y'all finish the phrase. Huh? Y'all finish the dissonance phrase. Finish it. And Pitts is right. Wikipedia is not a scholarly source. But they always go there for the scholarly source, and they believe, but you can edit Wikipedia. You can edit it. That's why when I did my research on this, I didn't just hook up on Wikipedia and say, oh, that's it. No. I went all over the internet, and then I started talking to professionals about it. All right? Yes. This is straight cognitive dissonance, Marlon and Beatrice and Amber. Yeah, Annette. And what is cognitive dissonance? Can y'all? Because we have some on here right now. We had them on my wall today when I brought up the question, can blacks be African Americans be racist? And all my white friends says, sure they can. And a whole bunch of black folks says, sure we can be racist. And then when y'all were trying to tell them what the definition was, they still said, I don't believe you. No, it can't be. No, it just can't be, because what my mind is telling me, my body is telling me no, okay? What my mind is telling me is I'm leaning on my own understanding, and no, of course y'all can be racist. And nobody did the study. They're going by their cognitive dissonance. I'm saying redlining has probably had the biggest negative impact. Thank you, Mark, because you scared me. You scared me earlier, man. Yes, negative impact on black Americans accumulating wealth because home. Yes, thank you. I got scared, bro. I'm like, dude, you married a black woman. How would you not know? Marlon says cognitive dissonance, noun, cognitive dissonance, the state of having inconsistent thoughts, beliefs, or attitudes, especially as relating to behavioral decisions and attitude change. That was a textbook definition. Now I need somebody to break that down for Marlon. Marlon, you can break it down if you like. All right, let me end this and tell you what Wikipedia says about racism. Okay. Wikipedia define reverse racism. Here's how they define reverse racism. Again, y'all saying, I can't make this up because all you got to do after the show is type it in yourself. All right? I'm not showing you the screen because, again, I don't want the phone to die on me. But you got phones. You can check it yourself. Cognitive dissonance theory says that there is a tendency for individuals to seek consistency among what they do and what they believe. Ooh, to the we. Doc Bill, what you saying? You're preaching truth. The issue is labeling blacks as racist renders whites some sort of comfort in their privilege. There it is. In other words, they are then able to argue affirmative action is unfair to us and is discriminatory. We have rights too. That's it. That's it. And do you not know there are so many whites who are winning affirmative action lawsuits? Whites are benefiting from affirmative action. That little white girl a couple of years ago was mad and was trying to sue a college because of affirmative action. I don't know if y'all kept up with that stuff. She was trying to sue them. She a white girl and she trying to benefit off of affirmative action. It was something else. I don't disagree that all the problems you mentioned are very serious issues facing our society. I am just saying I don't think racism is the right word for it. Okay, Mark. I hear you. I feel you, brother. I'm going to do my research, Walter. Thank you, Mark. See, Mark, I knew it. Thank you, man. Thank you. I'm not against affirmative action. Thank you, Mark. I see. That's why I say this is my brother. Reverse racism. Reverse racism is a word or phrase that white people like to use. Reverse racism. Okay, let me see what Wikipedia says about reverse racism. They say reverse racism or reverse discrimination. Now, as I go into it, you'll say, see, I told you, but I have to keep reading. He says, is the concept that affirmative action and similar color-conscious programs for redressing racial inequalities are a form of anti-white racism. Anti-white racism. That's what white folks see. This is reverse racism. See, this whole affirmative action, this is anti-white racism. Oh, it goes on and on and on. Okay? The concept is often associated with conservative social movements and the belief that social and economic gains by black people in the United States and elsewhere cause disadvantages for white folks. There it is right there. That's what it means. Belief in reverse racism is widespread in the United States. Howsoever, there is little to no empirical evidence. Did y'all see that? There is little to no empirical evidence that white Americans suffer systematic discrimination. That's out of Wikipedia. This is a white man's page. Black people don't own nothing of prominence in America. We don't own nothing of prominence in America, so how can we be racist? We don't own a national radio station, TV conglomerate. We don't own a TV conglomerate. That's why we got to go to the Word Network, the Church Channel, JCTV, TBN, all this stuff. We don't own BET. We don't own that. Okay, we just don't. We don't own a car company. Okay, we don't own the light company. We don't own the gas company. We don't own the water company. Okay, we don't own nothing of prominence. Yeah, we got a few black banks. We got some grocery stores. There's some African Americans who own cell phones. They got cell phone companies now. The black, okay, stuff like that. But you got to Google and try to search and find and what have you. But it's not enough that these blacks own where we are on top, where we own it to where we can be prejudiced against you, but we can't be racist. Can't. Just can't, because we don't own enough in America to be racist. Understand? Belief in what did I say? Where was I? They said belief in reverse racism is widespread. However, there is little to no empirical evidence that white Americans suffer systematic discrimination. Racial and ethnic minorities generally lack the power to damage the interests of whites, who remain the dominant group in the United States. Claims of reverse racism tend to ignore such disparities in the exercise of power and authority, which scholars argue constitute an essential component of what's called racism. And I'm telling you, my white friends gonna say, I don't believe you. Conservative mean make America great again because it offends their system, traditions, beliefs, and status. It offends them. So allegations of reverse racism by opponents of affirmative action policies began to emerge prominent in the 1970s and have formed part of racial backlash against social gains by people of color. While the U.S. dominates the debate over the issue, the concept of reverse racism has been used intentionally to some extent wherever white supremacy has diminished, such as in post-apartheid South Africa. Mark says systematic is the key word here. And Mark, this is all we've been saying since I've been on this show. It's systematic. That's what racism is. It's systematic. You finally gave the answer that I've been trying to give you. That's all it is. So African Americans can't do nothing systematic against you where it will be defined as racist. Can't do it. We're just bigots. Okay? Can I say it this way? Marlon says, we did not create the system. Thank you. Nor do we have the power needed to change the rules that govern it. Yes. For example, look what just happened in Washington. There it is, brother. We ain't got the power. We ain't got the power. Look in that room. Donald Trump was talking to his cohorts when he was holding up the newspaper. All right? He won the case. Go back and look at that. Look in that room. Look how many black folks you can count in that room. And there was a lot of people in that room. But yet, that is the Republican Party. A party they call unity. That is the party who they say, we speak for the American people. If you speak for the American people and it's 99.99 lily white in that party and in that room, that does not represent the United States of Asians and Hispanics and blacks and people from different countries. How could that represent, how could you speak for the American people when you're all white? Huh? What the American people, this is not what the American people want. How do you know what the American people want? Just because you won don't mean the American people at large wanted you there. It's just this many people voted you in and you didn't win on the popular vote. That means America didn't want you because the majority ruled. So you won because a college got you in there. You understand what I'm saying? Are y'all with me yet? All right? Lou Dobbs, Hannity, Limbaugh, Mitch McConnell, and the rest won't ever say anything otherwise regarding bigotry. They say they're being attacked. Voncha, that's it, man. That's it. Nope, we are only 14.2%, but we can join in with the other minorities. It's something. That's something. It's amazing to me the way people talk. Okay, now I need y'all to help me with a YouTuber here. I respect him. His name is D Benders1. D Benders1. And I know you're watching D Benders. I respect him because the way he was talking to me is he could have gone hardcore. You know, sometimes people on YouTube, they go hardcore when they disagree with you. Ooh, they disagree with you hardcore. They'll cuss you out and then sing and then grab the Bible and say, "Onward, Christians." So, yeah. Yeah, do away with the Electoral College. That's a joke. And the college is one of the biggest parts of that system. Thank you, the actress. Okay. All right. Let me read what someone else said here. I believe that African Americans can be prejudiced. They can be bigots, and they can involve themselves in discriminatory practices. However, they cannot be racist. In order to be something, you have to be the part of something, and that something is power. Something that the black man has never had, and the white institutionalizers have fortified. Understand? Unfortunately, many black people attribute the word racism to the hateful behavior that they see demonstrated towards us by white folks and have tried to take it on their own. Okay? On their own. And in doing so, they have misconstrued the word for a behavior. Y'all understand? You misunderstanding the word. You misdefining the word for a behavior. When black folks answer yeah to the question as to whether they can be racist, he is trying to parrot a behavior that they see in a racist white folks and attribute it to black men without considering the why. Why he, the white man, has that attitude. Why do he have that attitude? So the fact of the matter is that he has this attitude because he owns and oversees a system we don't have and never have had that ownership. That's the same thing that Christians also do when we go back into the Old Testament and try to read Israel's mail and attribute it to us as Latter-day Christians, which drives me up the wall. Everything in the Old Testament seems to be applying to us, and it is a dangerous practice called replacement theology, where you remove the name Israel and put church in there. It's dangerous. So every dispensationalist theologian begins with presuppositions about varying time periods. I'm a dispensationalist and I'm also an apologetic. And it's important to understand the system that the Bible is set up. All right, this is called systematic theology. It's a system that you need to study to understand who those people were in the Old Testament and who is we talking about in the New Testament. Understand? So, do we love the fact that the Hebrews were slaves? Do you love the fact that they were slaves? Notice, the Hebrews were slaves in the Old Testament, and y'all are applying servitude, slavery, to yourselves as today's Christian. All right? Do you love the fact that they are slaves? Absolutely not. You don't. Despite their treatment, they too would never be looked at as racist. Notice that. You would never call a Jew in the Old Testament a racist. Would you? I'm talking to you, white folks. You could call me a racist here in America, but you would never call a Jew in the Old Testament a racist. Even though they couldn't stand the Philistines and the Amorites and the Hamathites, okay, the Jebusites and the Edomites and all these people, you wouldn't call them racist, would you? No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't do it. In spite of their closeted feelings of hatred towards their oppressors, because they did not have the power, the system, or laws behind them or in place to support it. It was to the contrary, the laws kept them bound. The laws kept them bound. All them ites pits, okay? Marlon says the white man does it because he can. James Brown was wrong. This is not a man's world. It's a white man's world. If it was not, then the playing fields would be level and we would not have to have this conversation tonight. I'm trying to tell y'all, when I finish my book, The United States of Sodom and Gomorrah, I'm going to pee off so many, black and white, Republican and Democrat, Jew and Gentile, Catholic and Protestant, Kojic and full gospel, and you who are apostolic. I'm going to upset all of you because I'm going across the board and tell you about the good, your bad, and your ugly. Yes. Thank you, Pitts. Good to see you. Good night to you. Marlon says, let's talk about the Israel thing too. Just because they sent money to Israel and so-called blessed Israel, that does not make up for all the evil that they've done. Yes, continue to do. Yeah, come on, man. And if they continue to do and plan to do to black people here in America, notice what Muhammad Ali says. He says, I'm not fighting in this war. Remember they tried to draft him into the army? And he was a draft dodger, or whatever he was, and they arrested him because of that. He says, why would I fight in a war for these white fight against these people? And I'm here living in America, and the white man don't even treat me like a man. But now the white man want me to fight for him. That's why he got in trouble. Poor Muhammad Ali. Bow your head. All right, I've had enough. All right, so my show from yesterday, the review of the State of the Union address, okay, part 2. If you go on YouTube right now, in my channel, my part 2 to the review of the State of the Union address, D. Benders 1 said, no disrespect, he says, but I think you have it all wrong. And I told him to prove me that I'm wrong. And he says, prove you wrong, you have not proved you right. Then I says, but you challenged my report. Now the burden of proof is now on you. And so he wrote this long excave. Oh man. Okay, how do I get to it now? I just had it. He wrote a long thing, and I think he got rid of it. I think he got rid of it. He edited it 14 minutes ago. He got rid of it. Yeah. It is apparent that you are a Trump hater, he says. For me to respond to everything you said would take a lot of time because you said a lot. If you wish, I would do that, but no, it will be a lot of probably a waste of time. I hate wasting my time when I know it's for naught. All right. So this brother had a long expose, and you watching right now. I know. I don't even know if you're a brother. You could be a sister. I don't know. So excuse me if I don't know. Okay, here it is. He didn't get rid of it. Here it is. I was getting ready to say, how dare you? How dare you? Where's the pizza? Right. I'm hungry too. What time is it? Okay, so he said, let me just say this. He said, no one is perfect, and anyone who claims to be perfect is a deceiver. He says, we all have strengths and weaknesses. Some folks, you meet them, and they seem like they are perfect and have everything lined up perfectly until you get to know them and see the havoc in them. He says, Trump has been with many women in his life, as I have, but I have changed in it, and it's possible he has too. Now, I like how he said it's possible that Trump has changed too. Hour and 15 minutes, okay? All right. Outside of that, Trump was always well liked by African Americans up until he announced he was running. Did y'all hear that? Did y'all like Trump prior to him running? I totally ignored Trump. Totally ignored him. Totally. And I think this is a white man. There's got to be a white man talking. It's funny how they think they know us. Trump used to hang out with Tyson, MJ, Tiger, Don King, Al. I guess he's talking about Al Sharpton, race baiting Sharpton. Yeah. Jesse Jackson, Percy Sutton, etc. Notice the people that he's putting on here. Notice how he's using all entertainers. That's the way white America look at you. They look at you as followers of all entertainers. Notice how when Trump won the nomination and he started bringing people to his Trump Tower, notice he started bringing all these people here. Okay? He's even Steve Harvey. Trump started calling in all of the black entertainers, but he would not bring in anybody from the black caucus. He wouldn't bring anybody from the congressional caucus. He wouldn't bring anybody from the NAACP. He wouldn't bring anybody from the something league. Okay, he wouldn't bring in all those people of persuasion of intellect. No, he brought in entertainers. Why? Because that's how they see you. We all know that orange has not changed. That's how they see you, and that's what this brother here is saying. Black people love Trump, and they think that Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson is the god of black people. No, even on my wall, the white folks will say Jesse Jackson. They always bring him up. Even my Uncle Tom friend, bring up Jesse Jackson. Like Jesse he's the voice of all African Americans. Tell him to shut up. Wow. Okay, that's what's happening here. Always liked and respect. It says receive awards for creating opportunities for African Americans. Allow blacks and Jews to join his golf clubs. You see, it's all entertainment. Truth is, most of it, not all people believe they were guilty based on. Yeah, it's hard to read any of this. It's hard to read in this. So now the Ukraine call, and then I will call it quits. The call transcript was clear. Now he's talking about no pre-quo. You know, that's a tongue tie. Pre-quo pro. Okay. And he's saying that the transcript was clear when the transcript really was very clear. That's why a group of people called the House of Representatives impeached him because the transcript was clear. What is quid what is quid pro quo? Huh? Exactly what the transcript says is exactly the definition of quid pro quo. That means, hey, I got a deal. Listen, I know you want this money, but can you do something for me? And if you do this thing, then I will exchange this act for another. That is the definition of quid pro quo, and the transcript And the phone call says it. Exactly what it did. But these Trump followers are telling us, no quid pro quo. None. What does that tell you about their followers? Can y'all tell me in the comments here? What is that telling you about the Trump followers? Can y'all tell me in the comments? What does that say? Because what he's doing here, proving my point on the video that he's talking about. What this brother, I don't know if he's a brother, the D Bender 1 is proving my whole point of the video that he's commenting on. It's proving my whole point that they're tribal. Absolutely tribal. Trump, I would like you to do us a favor. See, I mean, yeah, because our country has been through a lot and Ukraine knows a lot about it, I will try. It's hard to read any of this. Yeah, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. That's the definition of quid pro quo. That's it. Marlon says they are liars, deceitful, plain stupid. Now, Marlon is saying all these things. I'm not saying those words. I'm just reading. Hey, Tamika, good to see you. I'm just reading. So here's what it is. I think VJ was in my notes earlier. VJ perfectly said it. McCoy is this. Lucifer in heaven saw God and wanted to be like God. Okay? And Lucifer actually had these other angels in heaven to follow after him. Whatever Lucifer said, whatever Lucifer did, they followed. God the Creator created these angels in heaven. Lucifer was an anointed cherub. He was God anointed cherub. And the Bible says he covered God. Because the Bible says in Ezekiel, he was the cherub that covereth. Okay? He had pipes in his I wouldn't say body, he is a spirit. All right? He had pipes in him, all right? And he was the chief of the musician. He was anointed. He was God's great. He was beautiful, the Bible says. And he got lifted up and puffed up. And the other angels was watching him and saying, "Ooh, that's a bad mama. Shut your mouth." I'm just talking about Lucifer. And then he did what he did and got kicked out. And God had to sweep the city with a third of the angels with him. And the third of the angels are Trump followers. Because no matter what Lucifer says to do, those angels follow him. That's exactly it. These are minions. These are minions. These are like imps, in a sense. That's what they are. And I believe a strong delusion come on the earth through God himself. The Bible says if it be so, the very elect would be fooled by this Antichrist. Trump is not the Antichrist. He's nowhere near the Antichrist. Understand? The Antichrist doesn't come, ain't got nothing to do with America. All right? So somebody said, "You don't know about Bible prophecy." Thanks. I appreciate it. May I have another? So someone on YouTube says that God is cleaning up or protecting the Christians because of Trump. Let me tell you something that I've always said on this show, and they may come back and respond. Who was that? Wendy Mims, was that you? I support Trump 100%, as she says, and he will be president again 4 more years. Okay, I can't deny any of that, but the talking points continued. Somebody, what did she say? Trump policies are what me and the voters are looking at, and she says, not the man. He will be judged like you and I on how we live our lives. And I respected that comment by Wendy. Is it Mimes? I respected the comment, but I have a comment on top of that. I have a comment on top of that. Because here's the thing. Can y'all hear me out? Out of all of the immoral things that man did, they are voting for him because of a policy. Here's the thing. When you allow an immoral man to come in your house and babysit your children. Have R. Kelly over to babysit the kids while we're going on the party, because I love his songs. You have a man who's immoral on every side, who's a fake Republican, a fake conservative, a fake Christian, okay? And he's so immoral, so immoral. Wendy just said it. She just said it here, okay? She says, I didn't vote for his, but I voted for his policies. So you vote for his policies. It's still coming from a very immoral man. And I look at Hitler, had great policies. He did. He had great policies. I look at Al Capone, was out there feeding the hungry and housing the poor, and he had social programs. Al Capone, yeah. So Trump got great policies, but it's still coming from a very wicked man. And those policies, what are the intent of the policies? Look at the intent behind the policies. And white evangelicals jumped in on that because he mentioned Christianity. He mentioned church. He mentioned pastor. He mentioned immigration. He mentioned wall. He mentioned money. He mentioned taxes. All of these policies here. He mentioned small business, a small government. That is. These are policies that they. But it was coming from an immoral man, and dirt in, dirt out. Dirt in, dirt out. And this is the same trick that Lucifer played on Eve in the garden. Same trick. And he brought up the word of God. He said, did not God say this? Now, come on now. Surely. Surely you're not going to die. Marlon, exactly. They vote for him because of a policy, and swear on their lives that he is an anointed Christian who is being used by God. That's why they can't preach to me. They can't. They can't preach to me either. Motives do matter. So I respect Wendy Mimes on her comment, because she is one of the rare voters who I did respect the comment. Okay? But I can't understand why you still would vote for someone, because I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. I didn't vote for Bernie Sanders. I didn't vote for so they think Trump supporters think that a non-vote for Trump was a vote for Hillary Clinton. Y'all think that that's all we have is the two-party system? That's it? You know what I mean? There's a whole bunch of parties out there. There's the Green Party. There was the Tea Party. There's the Independent Party. There's the Negro Party. Okay, it's all, and you got the power to write in. Well, if you write in, that means this person is going to win. Really? How you going to tell me how I vote? I vote my conscience. I vote my conscience. It's sad. It's really sad. The first lie your commenter wrote was that all African Americans used to love him. Not the African Americans affected by those 5 black boys he wanted to string up. Somebody brought that up, and I think he did. Not those discriminating against by him and his father in the housing debacle. Most of the black folks that admired Trump admired his ability of the businessman to go out and take what he wanted. That's about it. He was a dream of what they could have if they worked hard. He made it look easy and attainable. That's it. That's exactly it. Dr. Jill Stein had just, Tobias, Dr. Jill Stein. I almost voted for her. Yeah, I almost did. Well, Don Heron says, so Walter, you are a great man of God, and I really mean this, but like so many of us in the black community, I am surprised that even you don't understand Bible prophecy. That's what Don Heron said. Yeah, and I respected Don as well. Don says Trump is holding back. Don says Trump is holding back the Christian persecution that Obama and the Democrats so deceitfully desire. So, one poison for another poison. That's what's happening here. Our black preachers don't teach prophecy, and this is why you and your followers are deceived. I still know that you are saved and you love the Lord. Peace and blessings to you. The Democrats will return with a vengeance. Then you will understand. Don Heron, again, I respect you. And I figured I'd reply to y'all here. Because I fairly reply to y'all here because I fairly reply to Facebook comments here. and y'all are not here on my Facebook. So I'm doing exactly what I would do on Facebook. So don't get upset with me if I'm talking about your comments on YouTube here. Here's your opportunity. Here's my opportunity to talk to you and read your comments openly, okay, publicly. Now, unfortunately, you're not here to defend it and go back and forth with me, and so we'll just have to find another way of doing that. But Don, I feel you, and I respect you. But for you to say that I don't understand prophecy is for you not to. You must be new to the Sirwalterj Jones show, because I have hundreds of videos on YouTube, and too many of them talk about Bible prophecy, and many of them are on the whiteboard, all right? And I've had people who were Bible prophets who agree with me, those who are professors in universities and colleges agreed with my findings, and they were asking me, what college did I graduate from? Are you a doctor? Do you have a master's? I said, no, I don't have no degree in Bible. My degree is in accounting. I have no degree whatsoever in Bible, nothing. But these professors were agreeing with me to the point where they asked me to teach in their schools. I've taught in the Trinity Bible College here on the South Side, and I've taught in another Trinity of a different association. They're not even associated with it in the northern hemisphere of Chicago. I taught in both colleges. Me, a non-college graduate who teaches Bible and Bible prophecy. A black man who were asked to teach in two white institutions. Those are two white institutions. Black folk don't own the Trinity here and the Trinity over there. But I'm asked to speak and teach. Me. I live in South Dakota, where I was asked to teach at Catholic schools. I was a Catholic school teacher. Hello? So, unfortunately, Don is new to the Sirwalterj Jones show, and the man and the spirit behind the man. He's new. So I get what he's saying here. He's only speaking ignorant, meaning not ignorant as an insult, but ignorant meaning you don't know who I am, as I'm ignorant to not knowing who you are. But you're making this assessment on part 2 of a show that I posted up yesterday. Understand that? All right, so what you're saying only is going to be proven to the world eventually. It will be eventually proven either come November or come 4 years after that, it will be proven. I'm not a Democratic man. I don't vote Democrat. I haven't voted Democrat in many years. I voted Republican, and when Obama was running, I voted Republican. I voted for what's his name? I forgot his name. What's his name? Huckabee. I voted for Mike Huckabee in 2008. Yes, I did. Sure did. And then when Obama ran again in 2012, I voted I voted independent that time. I didn't vote Democrat. No, I'm a conservative. I don't believe in Democrat policies. I don't. Not all of them. I don't. There's some good and bad on both sides. What? Bill, I know there was something about you. I loved it. He said he voted Huckabee too. I voted Mike Huckabee. A Republican. I did that. I did not vote for Barack Obama. He says I wrote in and counted in 2016. Bill, I think we need to have coffee. Thank you, Amber. Hour and 33 minutes. Forget him, Sirwalterj Jones. I know that you understand Bible prophecy. I also know that you walk circumspect and live a holy and sanctified life. Tell him to find out if these people he is referring to are doing the same. Marlon, boy, I love when he come on here. He always make me feel better. Okay? So I respect Don Herring's words. And I wish he was here so that he could defend himself. So what Don said, he said that Trump is here to, what did he say? Holding back the Christian persecution. Then he said that Obama and the Democrats so deceitfully desire Christian persecution. Now, I will say that Obama and the Democrats and this whole gay thing and abortion thing, yeah, that's why I'm against Democrats for all that stuff. See, I'm more closer to what these people are than they think. Unfortunately, there is something missing. There's something missing. Donald Trump has been sent here by God to prove a lesson. Yes, you're right, Don, to Christians as well as unbelievers. But he's really to teach a lesson to us. You white evangelicals, Donald Trump is here to prove a message, a lesson to you. Donald Trump is not Cyrus, King Cyrus. Donald Trump is King Saul. All right? King Saul. You needed, you begged, you wanted someone to lead the party, and God let you have Donald Trump, someone from the outside. All right? And there you have it. And he warned you through your prophets what he's going to do, and you ignored it. And here he is doing it to you. And the worst is yet to come if you vote him in. All right? Trump is a lesson for the United States at large. He is King Saul. And what God does is he uses these kind of kings and potentates, all right, to do a damage control, to correct. God used the oppressor in the Old Testament to teach the Israelites that I told y'all that if you obey me, I will bless you, but if you don't, I will curse you. And he had them sent away through Nebuchadnezzar and through many of the kings. And Daniel saw this beast standing there, okay, and all of the precious metals from the greatest to the lesser down to the feet, clay. All right, and so God was using these systems to teach the Israelites a lesson. So He uses the oppressor to teach you that you have left God. You walked away from your first love. You walked away from me. And you are, and Jesus says you to the disciples or the Pharisees, he told them, you pay your tithes, all right? You're doing a good thing. You're paying your tithes and cumin and mint and sugar and spices and all this stuff, okay? All right. Now the temple had been, you know, the veil hadn't been rent yet. The temple is still there. Jesus hadn't died yet, so there were still sacrifices going on. So they were paying a tithe, all right? They still was operating in the Old Testament. But he told them, you're forgetting a weightier matter. You're forgetting a weightier thing. You're forgetting a bigger thing. And what is that? That is justice, and faithfulness. Okay, and what else, y'all? Mercy. You're forgetting these three things: justice, mercy, faithfulness. Okay, you're forgetting the things that you were once strangers. You should be helping these people who are oppressed. You're forgetting justice. And you look at the white evangelical churches, they never talk about it. They never talk about the oppressed. They never talk about it. No, they don't bring it up in their sermons. All these popular white evangelicals, they don't talk about it ever. You never see them talk about it ever. I'm talking about from Benny Hinn to David Jeremiah to it's a whole bunch of them who I used to love and respect. I still love them, but I lost respect for them because they never bring this stuff up. To John Hagee, to Donald Trump's woman, Paula White, all these popular white evangelicals, to the smiling preacher, they never talk about the oppressed and justice and brutality. Then Robert Jeffries, and they never talk about none of that. None of it. Why? But yet they're doing their thing. So that Trump is the answer. Donald J. Trump is the answer. So y'all say he's God sent? He sure is. He's here to cause this kind of havoc so that God can come back and clean it up. And what does God do? When he bring in an oppressor, he allows the oppressor to punish you. And then when God has thought that your punishment is enough, what does he do with the oppressor? He removes the oppressor. How does he move the oppressor? Well, it depends. He will free the people and he removes the oppressor. He either put the oppressor from where they come from or he kills the oppressor. All right? But he removes the oppressor. And then you go by and you repent and what have you, okay? 9/11 happened and everybody was running the church. Everybody was saying, God bless America. On and on and on, okay? I wonder was 9/11 purposely happened. All right? So as it pertains to this whole color scheme, stop telling everybody you colorblind. White folks, please stop doing that. You're not colorblind. Stop. Because it makes no sense. God is not colorblind. God made colors. What artist put the same color in the same artist's cup? What artist would have all of the same color? Everything is blue. I'm about to paint this wonderful picture of a globe, all right? And then everything in his cup is blue. All right, here we go. All right? That makes no sense. So God is an architect. He's an artist. And this is him right here. He's a colorful God. Colorblind. He sees colors. That's why he made me black and made you white and made you yellow. And made you yellow and blue and purple and all this stuff, all right? He made you all these colors because he ain't colorblind. He understands your culture. He made you black because he needed somebody to clap on the 2 and the 4. I gotta go, y'all. It's been a long night. It's been a long night. And Amber put it up there one time, but she didn't put it up there this time. Hey, how long I've been on here? It's got to be an hour and 45 minutes by now. I know. I done talked myself crazy. It's 11:42 in the p.m. and I'm gonna eat something. Y'all know I eat late. Y'all know that already. Yeah. I know. I'm gonna get better, but I'm gonna eat now though. Altar call. Altar call. All right. For those of you who are judging the words that came out of my mouth, you don't know me yet, so it's difficult. All right, I can't count like y'all do. They'll tell you, I'm not prejudiced. I'm not a racist. 2 of my best friends are black. Okay, I can't tell you how many white friends I have. I lose count. I have no idea. Why? Number one, I don't keep count. All right, but when you keep count how many black friends you got, and I don't even care if you like black women. I hear white folks say, I'm not prejudiced. I like black women. I date black women. Really? No. You like their bodies. You like their behind. Yeah, but the way you act when you around me, you're a racist. You're a racist. I'm not a racist. I married a black woman. Really? That doesn't make you a racist because you like black. You like the skin? Really? Y'all need to stop saying silly stuff, white folks. Please stop saying stupid stuff. Please. Just because they live in your house don't mean you. I mean, please. Because I just read the different types of racism. And you see the word bias, explicit bias, covert and overt, individual racism, interpersonal racism, okay, institutional and cultural and structural. There's different types of racism. You don't even realize you're part of it, because when you with your group of people, then you run with that crowd and you don't even know. Wait a minute, I am racist. I had white people tell me, listen, I teach at a black school. You know, I hang out with some of my black friends, blah blah blah. But when I was with my white friends at the club, at the country club or culture club, whatever it was, and they began to talk about black people, and I was like, yeah, you're right, that person right there. And then somebody said nigger, and I said nigger, and then they said, Walter, it dawned on me, I think I'm racist. But I don't understand. I like to be around my black friends, but when I'm with my white friends, I act like them. Y'all, I need to hook y'all up with that person so that they can. Anyway, gotta go. Hey, Alexa, say good night.
Good night. Sleep tight.
Good night, y'all. Thank you for hanging out for the hour and 45 minutes. I appreciate it. Hit the share button. Thumbs up. Bing. Although I know it's going to be like that. Let the church say amen. God has spoken to bias. And let the church say amen. Good night. Or good morning.